Let's bring in our next guest. Dan Hayes covers the Twins for The Athletic, does a great job reporting on this team, and has been on this show before. Dan, welcome back. And how are you enjoying the Twins-Astros series? Do you get to catch some of AJ's homer lines about the Twins, since he's just so all about what the Twins are doing in this series?
The series has been great. I have not, man, it's funny. You get so wrapped up when you're doing the job. I have not. The Niners played the Cowboys on Sunday. I was very invested in that growing up in NorCal, and I did not watch a single play. So I have not watched a broadcast. Although, what was I watching last night? I watched a little bit of the end of the Rangers Orioles with very big interest, because I wanted a night game tonight versus the day game today. So not complaining about that at all.
Didn't we all, Dan? Didn't we all, Dan? We all wanted a night game today.
You got it.
Absolutely. One, the Target Field's been incredible so far, but tonight, I just imagine a night crowd, and what it's going to be like with a couple extra hours to get ready for the game. I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty electric event.
Dan, are Twins fans going to coordinate that if they are going to do the pitch clock countdown, they should do it to throw off the pitcher and not assist the pitcher with how the clock is actually working? Is that the most Minnesota nice thing that you've ever seen from
It's a pretty good call. Yeah, no, I know. They were assisting him definitely. And we were talking about that last night a little bit. Like, why were they either be a second late or a second early, do whatever you can to make him, think it's different. And, the one part that was really impressive about that was Twins fans in 2019, when they were down to the Yankees in Game 3. The Yankees had a big early hit. Twins missed a bases loaded opportunity in that game, and then they went silent. They just anticipated it was over. And the fact that they stayed engaged in that yesterday, despite, the chances of them winning after the Abreu home run was like 4 or 5%. But the fact they stayed engaged was really impressive. They tried to will that team back to life. That team had zero chance against Javier, the way he was throwing that slider, because they I don't know how much shadows affected it, because the Astros scored 9 runs. I think shadows played a role. The Astros handled it way better. I think Twins hitters had zero chance at seeing the spin of that slider. Royce Lewis swung out of his shoes, and there was a lot of talk about how Maldonado starting over Yonder Diaz, even though the bat is just not what Diaz's bat is. They amped up the usage of that slider yesterday, and if that was because he saw the spin and the fact that Twins had no idea, that's a veteran brilliant move, because they were guessing. And I talked to Carlos Correa after the game, and he said he saw Lewis swing out of his shoes at those 2 sliders and sat slider first pitch, and he took a fastball right down the middle. Like that, there was no. They didn't stick to patterns. They switched things up, and it made him extremely effective for those 5 innings.
If it doesn't go well for the Twins tonight, is this devastating? Is this devastating for Minnesota with the winter coming and knowing what you have to stay inside? And, as an organization, as fan base, you've been there the entire year. Is it a devastating loss?
No, I don't think so. Look, the 18-game losing streak, if they had let that become 20 and gotten swept out of the playoffs by the Jays, that would have been devastating. If we had to keep hearing about the streak, it's been really bad the last couple of years, where especially after that Yankees sweep and then the Astros sweep, really nothing the Twins was doing during the regular season mattered to fans to a certain portion. Look, there's always the diehards that are going to come out and be there, but there's a certain portion of the crowd that basically said, we need to see proof in October. You guys are in the easiest division in baseball. It's easy to roll to a division title. And they stayed away. And look, there's actual proof of that, in that the Twins didn't even draw 2 million fans this year. They ended up 25,000 short of 2 million fans. Baseball had this great resurgence attendance-wise. The Twins really didn't gain much. They gained a little bit over last year, but not a whole lot. And I think had they lost, this would have been devastating to them if the streak goes on. When they ended it, it was 2 days shy of turning 19. If this thing keeps going for a couple of years, you can lose that fan base, a vital portion of it. I think now people here are excited about the team again. They got to kind of remember. They've seen some great moments. Sunday's win was a really big spot. Look, they always got killed by the Yankees, and even though the Astros aren't the same thing as the Yankees in Twins lore. They are the defending champions. The Twins played a great game at Houston, came back home with, essentially took away home field advantage. I think that was a big moment for them. So, if it ends tonight, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be painful for a little bit, but it's not end of the world.
Let me ask you this. Yesterday, Sonny Gray, we talk about his resurgence of the sweeper and all that, and we talked about the shadows and everything else. It didn't seem like it affected Houston that much.
Right.
It looked like their game plan was to be on that slider. Did you hear anything about anything Sonny Gray said after the game, or can you enlighten us about, what happened there? Because he doesn't give up many home runs either.
I know that. I think that was the first home run he gave up on a slider all season. And it's the first time he's given up 2 home runs in a Twins start, and that was his 59th Twins start, including last week's playoff game. I heard one player told me that Abreu told them he couldn't see anything, and so he decided he was going to look for sliders specifically. And whereas Javier's slider just had massive spin and was very good, Gray's slider spin rate was down. It wasn't as effective as it normally is. We saw that in the first inning. That was, unfortunately placed ball, and Abreu saw it, and Abreu did what we all know he's done. I think, covering him for so long with the White Sox, I always remember him just destroying the ball at this park. Looked up the numbers going into yesterday. It's like a 297 hitter, 339 on base, 500 slug, and he had 14 home runs in his career at this park. Whatever it is, he likes hitting anywhere. He's Jose Abreu, but they gave him a chance to instead of trying to blow fastballs by him, they gave him a chance with the bat speed, and he punished him for it and had a monster game and really just put the Twins. That was 8 minutes into the game. In fact, it was really funny. We were interviewing. The entire beat was interviewing Johan Santana in the back of the press box. The interview started at first pitch. We interviewed him for 8 minutes exactly. Abreu's home run was like the last question. So by the time we all got back to the seats, it was 4-0. The game was essentially over at that point.
Dan, I heard what you said about Abreu, and he was sitting slider. On the broadcast yesterday, I said they were all sitting slider. 6 of the 7 hits he gave up were on off-speed pitches, I think. 2 home runs, both on the sweeper. He hadn't given up a home run on the sweeper in over like a year and a half.
Yeah.
They were hit. The opponents came in hitting like under 100 on the sweeper, and the Astros did damage. Not only did they get hits, they did damage on it.
Yeah.
So like the shadows thing that you're talking about, were they just better prepared than the Twins were? I mean, that seems like what it came down to.
Yeah, I think that played into it. I think the fact that Javier didn't just throw all fastballs. The Twins said they were looking heavily for the fastball, and that's what they wanted to do damage on. And it's funny because I think the Twins did a great job executing their plans in the first 2 games. They didn't get through to Verlander, but they put themselves in a lot of good spots. The 2 double play balls that were crucial were fastballs down. They were like 94 fastballs down the middle that they were looking for those specific pitches. They just didn't put them in play and hit them where they wanted to. I didn't think the Twins were nearly as good as executing their plan yesterday. There were just, you look at the strikes that Javier got them to chase. They were so effective at not chasing those first 2 games, and they were really off yesterday. And the Astros were incredible. I mean, the Astros do what champions do and what we've, learned to expect from them. That's why they've been to the ALCS or better every year in the last 7 years. So, I mean, it was a stark contrast, and both teams probably didn't want to hit in those conditions, but the Astros certainly showed how to hit in those conditions.
So, Dan, one more thing on the Johan Santana, Joe Mauer thing. I was a little disappointed, because the Twins didn't win a playoff game with those 2, and they had the catcher that, won the last playoff series sitting in the building, and they didn't ask him to do anything. So, I mean, I saw Derek Falvey. I told him. I saw Dave St. Peter, the team president, and I was like, you guys might have messed up. You had the Golden Goose sitting there, and you went with Joe Mauer.
It occurred to me that today I was coming onto this, and there was a lot of White Sox here, and I'm covering the Twins, having covered Todd for a couple of years myself. They should have probably had you out there. So today's going to be Gary Gaetti. They're going back to, bringing Gary Gaetti, and Johan joked because he bounced the pitch, and it was a strange start to yesterday. But that was a great moment because bringing out the Pablo jersey, Loved the idea that Pablo, he's talked about Johan right and left, and to wear that jersey before game one against Toronto. I mean, man, you're putting it all on you. You're saying, I am this guy. And then for Johan to wear the Pablo jersey was a really cool moment, just to see that. And yeah, it could have gone better though.
Mauer should have had a Brzezinski jersey on. but that would have been what they said is I should have walked up to Mauer and tapped him on the shoulder and been like, hey, I know you're in the Twins Hall of Fame, but beat it, Joe. My thing today is the Gaetti's throwing it to Dan Gladden today. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
2 World Series champions. Did you know they're also brother-in-laws? How does that work?
I did not know that.
Because Gladden's daughter is married to Gaetti's son. So what does that make them?
No. Father. No, there's no father. It's father-in-law.
They're father-in-laws, but their kids are married to each other. So they're related by marriage. I don't know what the exact term is.
That's that's funny because Gaetti, I believe this is the first time in my 6 years that he'll be back. I haven't seen him at any events, and Gary Gaetti, that 87 season, he was so good at defense and obviously a pretty good hitter too. So I was unaware of that, and now I have another angle to talk to Dan Gladden about, because that's pretty crazy. But I wonder what that family dinner is like every year at Christmas.
Hey, AJ, before you jump, last thing, this is for both of you because you guys are there. Were you surprised? I guess, AJ, you can go first and then bounce because I know you got to get to the game, and then Dan can follow here, that Carlos Correa was booed by the Houston crowd. It sounded like he was booed louder than anyone else. I'm like, hold up, wait. I was trying to process what was going on, what he did for the team, what he goes through at every other ballpark, and I'm like, now he's not even welcome in Houston? Weird.
No, first of all, I'll answer before I have to go because Dan gets to show up later than I do. So, yeah, I was shocked when his ovation reaction, whatever you want to call it, because it was more boos than cheers, and for what he did for that organization was pretty amazing. And I also want to say this before I go, and I'll let Dan speak on this. Yesterday, you talk about people in the crowd at Santana and Mauer throughout the first pitch, Gaetti, Gladden, all Twins Hall of Famers, right? I got to introduce Adam Wainwright to Paul Molitor, Jack Morris, Rod Carew, and Tony Oliva yesterday. I mean, you want to talk about a day? Adam Wainwright was like, this is one of the greatest days of my life. So think about the people that have run through the Twins organization, and they were all there yesterday. And it was a special atmosphere. And I agree with Dan that it's going to be amazing tonight. But yeah, I was surprised because one day Carlos Correa, he's probably, if the Astros have a Hall of Fame, there's a good chance he's going to be in it.
Yeah, with Correa, I'll say this: he knows to expect to be booed. He said it. He's like, it's probably less booing here than it is in most other places, but I get booed everywhere, so I'm used to it. He really tried to keep an arm's length thing with his former teammates. He told them we will talk after the series, but that's he said thank you for the congratulations, but that's it. Let's talk after the series. We'll resume being friends then. He understands the Astros fans that they see him as the enemy now just for this. It's not his fault that he's not in Houston. He would have loved to have stayed, but it's the playoffs. Last year when he came back in August 22, it was fantastic reception. It was the best road reception that he's gotten anywhere. So he knows the love is there. He said fans were coming up to him before the workout that day and saying, hey, good luck. We love seeing you. Good luck. And he's like, are you sure you want to say good luck to me? I am playing for the other team. So he's not surprised by it. And to AJ's point there about the Twins and bringing back all those guys, their history, it's a team. Growing up a huge Giants fan, I really loved how you could always go once a year and you might see Willie Mays or Willie McCovey at the park. And there was Will Clark. And, they rolled out their Giants history really well. The Twins do a very good job for a team that doesn't necessarily get the notoriety because all their history seemed like their great stuff happened 30 years ago. They roll everybody out. When they have a Hall of Fame day, when Joe Mauer went into the Team Hall of Fame, it was incredible to see who comes through. And you look at it, it's more position player heavy by far, but it is an impressive list of guys. And a lot of guys from Minnesota always love to come back and play for this team. And, you look at that early 90s, and Molitor was there. Dave Winfield was there for a little bit. Beyond the fact that Joe Mauer and Justin Morneau and Torrey Hunter and AJ, like the groups of players that they roll out is incredible for these things. And, Ron Gardenhire was let go, and he was back at a postseason press conference. Terry Ryan was at the same press conference. Paul Molitor's been back, even though he got fired in 2018. They brought him back as a minor league instructor. This team sort of keeps a family-like feel with all of the people around them. They never seem to let go unless they want to be gone. And it is something that it's cool, because you get these moments like this where it's the playoffs and this new team is hopefully creating some of those same memories that they'll be back one day down the road.
Let me ask you this. Let's get back to the game here. What did the Twins have to do to get to Game 5? I know they got Joe Ryan pitching. He's capable of doing, pretty much anything out there on the mound. He's a good pitcher. He's got to find a way to get to 4 innings, I think. But what do they have to hit? They have to pit. Like, what's the main thing they have to start doing?
I think Joe Ryan's got to get through that first inning that he's out there. I think they're going to tell him, you're going out there for 3, maybe 4, empty the tank, because his velocity can kind of waver. Like, it can be 94 for a few minutes, and then you'll see it at 90 later in the inning. I think they want him to empty the tank with that, worry about the off-speed stuff and just getting it over and making sure, because this isn't a great matchup for him. This typically, I think he's pitched 14 innings against the Astros and given up 9 earned runs, 3 homers. I think they will not hesitate to pull him if things are going poorly, because yesterday they did a pretty good job. I think the only real one of their high leverage guys that they used in relief was Griffin Jacks. He threw 9 pitches. He hadn't thrown in a couple of days. They have the day off tomorrow. So it wouldn't shock me at all if we saw them really pull out every stop. But, the key for them every time has been getting on the board early. On Sunday, you get the Carlos Correa RBI double in the first inning. And then you get that 2-run homer from Kyle Farmer. And that really, they played the game exactly how they wanted to the rest of the way. Pablo was electric. And then they got to the parts of their bullpen they wanted to. I think they could get to the parts of their bullpen they want to earlier today. But at the same time, nothing matters unless they can get on the board. And we saw how Justin Verlander pitched out of every situation. We saw how Javier avoided multiple situations during the middle of the game yesterday. They need to get that offense going, and that's going to be a huge key.
All right. I only have one comment. If you do not have 3 essential N64 games there, you cannot show up with an N64. Tell me your 3 essential 64 games, or you have to take it out of the next interview.
First, I'm going to tell you that I rent a room at this place. So that's not my N64, but I will say GoldenEye is the only game, to be honest. And then Mario 64.
One more.
God.
Those are the two upper echelon.
Man, you know what? It's funny. Those are the only 2 I ever played. I'm not going to lie.
Wait, did you say Mario? Wait, and I say it so wrong, Mario. You said Mario 64?
Yeah, Mario Kart 64, and then
Mario Kart.
Kart.
Yeah.
Kart.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. And then GoldenEye. I mean, honestly, we spent more time playing GoldenEye. There's a reason why I was in junior college for a long time, and it was playing a lot of Mario or GoldenEye. So
I do have some others to add to the mix there. I mean, I'm sporty and I played a ton. I love those, but NFL Blitz, NBA
Blitz
Jam.
was my 3rd one.
Jam.
Yeah. Blitz was great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Those
Jam
two
was
for me,
good too.
Yeah, I love. So there are some classics. Well, enjoy, dude, and have fun at the game tonight. Thanks for swinging by, Dan. We really appreciate it. Keep doing your thing. We'll post all this stuff on Twitter so people can see it and see your articles.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Dan Hayes,
See you,
right
Dan.
to the Athletic, covering the Minnesota Twins. Looking forward to that one.